and sixes. 10, 9, 8, 76ers.
What's going on, everyone? This is UK 76ers. My name is Ben Glasspool, and the night before last, the Philadelphia 76ers just about edged it past the New York Knicks at Madison Square Gardens by 101 points to 100 in overtime. Now, we'll just say it straight up, this was an absolutely abysmal game, and I don't mean it from the perspective of obviously the Sixers because we won, but in terms of if a neutral was watching it, it was just incredibly hard to watch, sloppy, and it wasn't as if it was a defensive masterclass from either side, which is something that, you know, people can still appreciate. It was just really, really sloppy and slow, and those of you who know, unfortunately, I had to sleep through the game because I worked the next morning. And what I did when I first woke up after I checked the score, I watched a quick 3 minute game recap that NBA does on their website. And even from that 3 minute clip, which was, you know, the whole 53 minutes just condensed into 2 minutes, you could tell this was a sloppy game. And then when I ended up watching the full thing when I got back from work later last night, oh boy, this really just took the wind out of your sails. It was so poor. It was just uninteresting, to be quite frank. You know, I knew how the game was going to finish. I knew the key points, obviously, from watching those condensed highlights. And even then, I was shocked at how on earth this went to overtime. And at the same time, I was shocked how on earth the Sixers didn't just lose. Now, often when we win games and we win ugly, I give credit to the team, and to an extent, they do deserve credit. But at the same time, I mean, Jesus, lads, that was like pulling teeth the whole way through. It was really, really horrible. Do I think this really affects anything in the long run? No, not of course. I think we're on the other end of a back-to-back. We have to go from Philly to New York, which isn't the longest trip in the world, but still, it's on the end of a back-to-back, and then you're looking at that West Coast run in the back of your mind. So you can just chalk this down to, you know, it's just one of those games, but that still can't stop me from being like, this was a hard watch. And I'm sure a lot of you guys agree. There were some nice moments, a few talking points, obviously, a bit of controversy at the end. But overall, this is a game I will gladly never ever watch again, and it has zero rewatchability. So, before we talk about it, of course, usual announcements. USA Sports Merch, check those guys out. They have sports merch from all your big four leagues in the United States. They are based in the UK, so you always want to help out your own guys. You know, started from scratch. Really good guys, doing a lot of good in the NBA UK community, on top of the various other UK communities we have for those American sports. So check those guys out in the link below. Visible, keep providing me stats, keep providing awesome content. Site's easy to use. Don't know why you haven't gone there already, with the amount of times I prompted you guys, but I will prompt you nonetheless. Check out Visual today. Once again, there will be their link in the description below. So this game, horrible, really horrible. Look, the Knicks did their homework, obviously, and when you have a coach like Tom Thibodeau, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a defensive prowess. You're going to get a mature sort of performance. No bystanders, and they've got players like Randall, like Robinson, like Ntilikina, who they can defend. They're long. They can defend. Bullock as well. I really like Bullock. You know, good defenders, and they've got them right the way through their team, and that means it's always going to be a struggle. And what Tibbs and the Knicks noticed from early on, and what we know about the Sixers as well, is that you want to limit our ability to do anything in transition, which means you want us to halt, you want us to be quite stagnant, and that means you want us in that half court trying to force something, essentially, which is what we struggle with. Now, in the game before, I credited our penetration and our ability to move the ball, swing the ball, and it's not as if that went away. I think the Knicks were just a lot better than the Kings at defending, therefore making that more difficult. And you also have to take into account the fact we're on a back-to-back, so it's not going to be the same sort of we're not going to get the same sort of joy performing these tasks. And it was a struggle early on. We managed to get a score finally with a really nice Simmons dunk in transition, unsurprisingly. You know, Ala Abdenabi said, you know, the Knicks, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to stop us penetrating, and they did that, and of course they got incredibly close to winning this game. So we, I think, realised after a while, we have to really take advantage of our opportunities in transition. And look, that's an obvious statement that we can make in any Sixers game, because you want to take advantage of the transition offense. But more so in this one, because we really struggled in that half court, I felt. And that's just a testament to how good the Knicks were, in my opinion, defensively. And Harris struggled offensively. That's because he was getting guarded by Randall. That Harris v Randall matchup was really fun. Well, fun's not the right word, but really intriguing, I guess. Both of them tested the others a lot. And Harris did end up getting his, but it was on an efficient score, and that was because of Randall. And similarly, Harris did quite well against Randall in that post. So, you know, credit to both of those guys, really. But when you have the two best offensive players struggling on both teams, it's going to be a bit of a snooze fest, which it was. But someone had to step up eventually, and that someone was Furkan Korkmaz, who was starting. And this is, I'm talking about turning up in the first quarter at the very least. He had 3 threes in that first. That accompanied with some nice Danny Green defense, which was apparent throughout the whole game. He was fantastic once again. In the first quarter alone, he had a steal and 2 blocks. Some nice chase down blocks. He's just got that IQ. He was going after everything. He knows when to strike, when to get after the guys. And how good has he been over the last few games? I was looking at his stats just earlier today. He's now shooting at 39% from 3. He's at 6.1 attempts per game, which is more than what he's ever done in a season so far. He's 3% off his highest in a season. He's better than what he was doing. He's got more attempts and a higher percentage than he was last season. And we love, NBA community loves to clown on Danny Green, and I've said before, time and time again, he is often made the scapegoat. But you've got to give credit where credit's due, and he's been fantastic on both ends, for sure. And so, with those two things, with Korkmaz hitting threes and with Danny Green's defense, and indeed the defense you'd expect from the likes of Simmons and Harris, etc., we ended up going on a 15-0 run. There was a really fun play where Korkmaz got a steal. This isn't something you usually attribute with his game. His defense it's improved, I think, but it's still a bit hit and miss. He stole it, then alley-ooped it to Ben Simmons. A Furkan Korkmaz alley-oop to Ben Simmons is something I wouldn't have expected to see, but with how poor this game went, it was a welcome sight nonetheless. And the Knicks, as a result of all this defense, of all this Sixers intensity, went on a 4-minute field goal drought, and we closed the quarter with a 23-15 lead, so a lead of 8 points. But inevitably, they were going to come back. The bench unit was, again, really, really solid. But basketball's a game of runs. They're going to go on a run. We're going to go on a run. And unfortunately, these runs were, there were 7-8 point runs, but they were slogs. And what I mean by that is they weren't as if they were free-flowing basketball where people were hitting nice shots and making good plays. It was someone goes to the foul line, or someone does something silly and ends up giving away a cheap bucket or something like that. It was just really unattractive basketball throughout. From this one, both teams. Shake Milton, he leveled the playing field somewhat by really bringing it once again. How many points? He got 21 points, I believe, this game. The high man for the 76ers. But what is frustrating me, and it's not with Shake's play, it's more so how he's treated by the referees. We know that if you're a bigger player, you get the calls. So many times I've seen Shake get fouled on the drives and went on his way to the hoop, and he just gets nothing. And he's quite softly spoken. Obviously, he's not the biggest name in the world, and he just sort of gets on with things. But it's got to the point where it's frustrating everyone. You can visibly see it. But despite Shake's efforts, when Simmons went off the court, we were lost offensively. Hence that need for that backup ball handler. Is that going to be Kyle Lowry? Is that going to be Lonzo Ball? That's going to unfold over the next few days, but it's going to have to be someone, because we don't have that just yet. We need that true floor general, that true point guard that can come in and fill in the gaps when Ben Simmons isn't on the floor. We know Tobias Harris has been a really good playmaker recently, but I still want someone else there. I still want someone that can say, yep, give me the ball, I'll sort this offense out in your stead, Ben Simmons. And as a result of that, we couldn't finish easily. What happens when we sort of struggle to find any sort of rhythm? We end up chucking up stupid shots. It's a panicky basketball. It's swinging the ball around. No one really wants to take that shot, and when they do, it's a poor shot. And this is something that can solely be attributed to the fact we don't have a floor general, someone that can't create plays to give us those easy looks. But it's also, I think, just to perhaps a sign of we're on a back-to-back. But at the same time, it has been prevalent somewhat throughout the season, and I've mentioned it plenty of times before, which means it's an issue that isn't just going to present itself on off nights like tonight. Knicks, as a result, 9-0 run. They were rushing their offense. Well, we were rushing our offense. No good looks. That 9-0 run from the Knicks went into a 13-0 run. We went on a 3-minute field goal drought, and we really closed that half poorly, and it really, really was a shame. I think we were giving up easy looks once again. I think once the head goes down, you need someone like Harris or Simmons to come on and just give that morale boost to the players. Because I think whilst the bench unit, like I said, has been good, when they get lost on that offensive end, we struggle to figure out where we're going to go next. And normally that means we need someone on the floor like Harris, like Simmons, who can give us that easy out, so we know exactly who we're going to give the ball to on that next play, and more often than not, we're going to get a bucket. But didn't quite work out the way we had hoped, and we struggled. We really struggled with sloppy turnovers, underthrown passes, throwing the ball out of bounds. It was just one of those nights. You know how it is. So they outscored us by 7 points in that second quarter, and the half finished 43-42, so a 1 point margin, which ultimately is how the game finished. And that level of tightness maintained itself throughout the second half, and indeed into overtime. So I talked about that Randall v Harris matchup, and that was just a real hammer and tongs sort of matchup. Obviously, both guys were the offensive leaders for their teams in terms of point scoring, point getting, and as a result, it all just sort of boiled down to them. And as I alluded to before, if they're not hitting, then who the hell else is? That sloppiness. We just ran out of ideas. Even with Ben Simmons back on the court, it got to the point where there were some plays for Howard to take mid-ranges, and he hit one of them to his credit. But it's like, is this what it's come to? Is this what we've resorted to? You having Dwight Howard shooting mid-ranges? It was, it's not what you want to see at all. But Danny Green's defense was the one shining light in that third quarter for me. Like I said, he maintained it throughout the game. It was another steal, and he forced a jump ball. I want to say with RJ Barrett. It's just that defensive IQ, like I said earlier. But overall, it was uninspiring from this Sixers team. It was lethargic. It was any word that is synonymous with lethargic. I mean, I don't need to list them all off. But the bench came through, pioneered by Shake Milton, of course. We were 21-20. It was 21-22 in that quarter to the Knicks, 64 all at the end of the third, 64 points at the end of the third quarter. I just want to emphasize that. Just shows what sort of game this was. It was, oh god, I've never enjoyed a Sixers win as little as this. It was just so boring. There's nothing really you can shout about. Doing this video, trying to keep this video on for a prolonged period of time is a struggle. Because what more can I say? Shake, going into that fourth quarter, Shake had a really nice play where he hit a deep three, Curry-esque, I guess. Maxey had a few minutes. He did the usual Tyrese Maxey things, those mid-range floaters, that penetration, that speed. And I guess bringing him into the fray was a really welcome sight for a team that when the Knicks were trying to stop us penetrating, we bring on Tyrese Maxey, who will always keep penetrating, will get his way a fair few times, and that was nice because when we can't penetrate, that's when when Sims can't penetrate, for example, or Harris, that's when we can't get those open looks from three. That's when we can't really get open looks anywhere. Penetration is crucial to how the Sixers want to play, especially without Joel Embiid, and that's probably why this was such a low-scoring game. But Tyrese Maxey did provide that off the bench, and it's nice to see him get back in the swing of things somewhat. I'm not expecting to see too much of him for the remainder of the season, but when he's having little moments like this, it's always fun to see. It's always nice to see, and it's something to build off for the future for him, of course. Mike Scott was tasked with Julius Randle, and again, Mike Scott had a really nice defensive performance. I'd like to see him perhaps take a few more shots. He'd been, I think it was 48% from three since he started featuring in the rotations more frequently recently. He just doesn't take enough shots. Look, I'm not expecting him to take a load, but it'll be nice if we can give him a few more looks because he's been very reliable from three since the All-Star break. Korkmaz had a cool pump fake leading to a couple of free throws, but in true Furkan fashion, he can't get all three free throws, and I don't think we'll ever see him get all three free throws. He'll miss at least one. I don't quite understand how it's like him and Joe Harris as well. This is another guy I don't get. You're so good from three, lights out, but you can't hit three throws that to the same level. You're looking at 75 to 80% rather than I'd expect upwards of 85, but that's a whole different story. But it's just one of those weird things I don't quite get. And Dwight Howard, this is one of the few shining lights. One of the best assists we've had all season. It looked for all the world that Dwight would go up for a dunk, pats it down, volleyball-esque, I guess, to Simmons, who had an easier look, and that was really fun. That was really cool to see. Thibault hit a three, which looked like that might do it. But then we just turned the ball over. We wasted plays. We gave the Knicks plenty of opportunities to just keep coming back at us. Green hit some, a late three, which again, that looked like, okay, done and dusted. Here we go. See you later. And then the most ironic thing happened. We're 88 to 85 points up. 17 seconds left. Tobias Harris gets fouled. He just needs to hit one free throw, really, just to get the game done and dusted. He's 90% plus this season. Sod's Law, he missed both. Knicks come out. Julius Randle hits a jammy shot off the rim. I mean, who doesn't like hitting jammy shots off the rim against the Sixers? Hint, hint, wink, wink, Kawhi Leonard, of course. You know what I'm referring to. And we have to go to overtime, much to the reluctance of basically every spectator and probably indeed every coach and every player, because no one wants this at all. So we go to overtime. All my notes seem to suggest we've lost, apart from the ones which tell you the score, and I still don't really understand how we lost. We're out of ideas from the fourth quarter onwards, but we still somehow managed to stick in there. We turned the ball over really early again. Alec Burks had a nice night against us, as you'd expect. Wants to prove a point. I really liked him on the Sixers. I would love him to continue on as our sixth man, but the money just couldn't work, unfortunately. So I haven't really got any animosity against the guy, but of course you're going to go off against your old team because that's just the way things go. We see what Danny Green's been doing against his old teams this season. Green then hit 3 mental threes, and we've seen Danny Green do that pump fake in the corner, then hopelessly throw one up and just get nothing. He pump faked, threw one up, swish, and then he got another 3, swish. Simmons had a nice runner. Burks kept going at us and killing us, and it wasn't Julius Randle that led the Knicks in the late. It was Alec Burks, and fair play. Tobias, despite his inefficient evening, was still persisting, which I think was a really nice sign to see. It was not giving up. It was keep going. It was I know my own ability, regardless of how I've been doing this so far this evening. And he did sink those 2 crucial free throws eventually. Would have been nice if he did it in the end of the fourth, but he got them done in the end in overtime to take it to 101 to 100 after Julius Randle fouled him. Now I've seen a lot of people complain about this regarding complaining to the refs, and it's a really tricky one because I understand people's grievances. Because if it's not flagged up anywhere else, this is these below the rim fouls where people are pushing each other about, loose ball fouls. Because a loose ball foul from Julius Randle when he pushed Tobias Harris at 99 to 100 to the Knicks, which allowed us then to get those 2 points to make it 101 to 100, which of course was the final score. Now, essentially, this foul call decided the game. Now, letter of the law is a foul. But the people, the Knicks fans especially, that were arguing against it were like, well, this happens all the time. Why would you make this decide a game? Because it's a bit soft. Now I get their grievances. I really, really do. And Julius Randle kicked off a fair bit as well, as he seems to be doing so often recently. But I can understand that he's a professional sportsman. You're uber competitive, and you're stuck in the heat at the moment as well. This is going to happen. But all I say is I get it, but it's a foul, letter of the law. He didn't need to push him. It was a brain dead play from Julius. Noel would have likely gathered that rebound. It's your own fault, to be quite frank. When you give the referees a decision, you take it out of your own hands. Look, you can talk about the consistency, and the refereeing so far this season has been pretty inconsistent and pretty poor. But that's basketball. It's been a bit. I think some of the responses have been a bit, crazy, a bit disproportionate to what happened. But so be it. Randall then missed the shot to win on the move. I believe it was Harris that moved him right rather than to his favoured left. So that was cool. And we got the job done in overtime, winning to 101 to 100. And thank God that game had ended. It was boring, it was uninspiring, it was lethargic, it was sloppy, it was all those words. But it was most crucially a Sixers win, and that's the main takeaway. We start this West Coast trip. We got the Warriors, we got the Clippers, we got the Lakers, and we got the Nuggets. I want to say this is a real tester, a real tester. It'll be interesting to see how we do. Is it an accurate reflection on how we will? People will like to, say, "Oh, what does this mean for the season?" Well, wait for Joel Embiid to come back, and then we'll gauge what this means. Because we can't at the moment. We can't understand what these games against the Warriors, etc., will mean because we haven't got our full team available to us. But that's it. We start the West Coast trip off the back of the sloppiest of wins you'll ever see. But am I really going to complain too much? I guess not. Was it fun to watch? No. But if we win, we win. It's really as simple as that. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.